Welcome to SEC Early Predictions 2021 number 10. We got our 10th one, and guess what? I'm bringing back the SEC shirt. I'm not sure if you could see that with the massive Missouri Tigers logo right in front of me, but obviously that is the team that we are covering today, the Missouri Tigers, who, in my opinion, quietly put together a kind of a nice 2020 season. Now, it was nothing special. It was nothing to write home about for sure, but you look at where this team finished in the East. They finished third in the East, over Tennessee, over South Carolina, over Kentucky, and over Vanderbilt, of course. I thought that they were going to be sixth coming into last year. I'm not going to lie. I did not have any faith in Missouri last season. And what they do, they proved me wrong. And I'm going to be a man of my word and say that I was wrong about that. But I thought Missouri actually played a pretty decent season. Yes, they had some bad losses. Tennessee, even though Tennessee was ranked early on in the season, they lost to them week 2. I think the loss against Mississippi State last season really sucked. Last game of the season, but Mississippi State was probably, other than Vanderbilt and South Carolina, you take out those two teams, Mississippi State was probably the worst team in all of the SEC. Like, Mississippi State was not a good team. So you take out those two, you had good wins against LSU. Who else? You beat Kentucky, you beat South Carolina, you beat Vanderbilt, and then you played a really entertaining game against Arkansas, which came down to the absolute wire. Unbelievable game there in the finish. I can't remember what happened. I think it was the 2-point conversion that Arkansas went for where the Missouri defender literally had the ball in his hands and the Arkansas guy just ripped it out or went in front of him and caught it. And then Missouri goes on a drive and kicks a game-winning field goal. Unbelievable game there. I didn't watch that game because I can't remember what game I was watching. I think it might have been Florida, Kentucky, if that was that week. And I watched the highlights of that game, though. Unbelievable there. And I'm pretty sure Missouri found themselves in the college football playoff rankings at some point. They were in the high 25s or the highest point of the rankings or the lowest point of the rankings, however you want to look at it. They were 25th or 24th or 23rd, something like that, 22nd, somewhere around there. But Missouri still comes through in the East with powerhouses like Florida and Georgia, especially for a program like Missouri. I would not be complaining about that at all. They got a bright future in at quarterback, which we're going to get to touching on later. And this team's defense was just solid throughout the year, except at the end of the season. That's where they really struggled. But you see, they hold a team in Alabama to 38 points. Now, that doesn't seem impressive, but you see the numbers that Alabama was putting up against every other team, and it looks pretty impressive there. South Carolina to 10, Vanderbilt to 0. You got Kentucky to 10. I think that the defense was definitely the strength of this team. You may argue because they did have some offensive spurts in this season, like the LSU game scoring 45 points. They put up 50 against Arkansas. You go out and what else? You had 20 against Kentucky. That's not that impressive, but 41 against Vanderbilt. You could argue either way that offense or defense was their strength, but in my opinion, it was the defense in a very offensive powerhouse. Yes, every offense in the SEC is going to be good now. It's just how college football works, but in a season where offenses were ruling everyone, the defense still hung in there and were able to make some big plays and were a key factor to Missouri's success this season. So let's get into their 2021 schedule and take a look at who they're playing. On September 4th, you start out the season at home versus Central Michigan. Then you go to Lexington, Kentucky on September the 11th to take on the Kentucky Wildcats. Then you come home to take on Southeastern Missouri State. I'm pretty sure that's who they are. I'm going to be honest, I have no clue. I've never heard of that team, but you play them at home on September 18th. Then you go to Boston College, so you're going to Boston, Massachusetts for September the 25th in a cross-conference versus an ACC team against Boston College, which should be an entertaining matchup. Then you come back home to take on Tennessee for October the 2nd. Then you're still at home against North Texas for the 9th. You're still at home, so you got 3 straight home games, and you take on Texas A&M to finish off that homestand. Then you go to Vanderbilt on October 30th. You go to Georgia on November 6th. You come back home to play South Carolina on the 13th. You stay at home to play Florida on the November 20th, and then you finish up the season on November 27th in Arkansas at DWR Razorback Stadium. And then finally, December 4th, it's the SEC Championship Day. Could Missouri get back into there? I put it for every single team that I've done in these segment videos. By the way, if you want to watch the rest of the videos, there's a playlist, so feel free to check those out if you want to see some of the other teams and where I have them lining up this season. But who knows? Missouri's made it to the SEC Championship before. Can they get back there? And that's what we're really going to get into in this video, talking about what we're going into now, who Missouri has lost this season, what players they've lost, what their starting lineup's going to look like, and what players they've gained in their recruiting class this season. And then we're going to finally go into the most entertaining part of every single video that I do of these: wins, losses, and toss-ups, where I put each game into a category, whether I'm confident that it will be a win for Missouri, I can't call it's a toss-up, or I'm pretty guaranteed that this game's going to be a loss for Missouri. So let's get into first who they lost so far this season. For Missouri, obviously the big guy has to be Nick Bolton. I think he's going to be a first rounder. He's going to be a late first rounder. For him to go to teams like, I think, the Packers, the Bills, maybe the Saints. I don't know about the Saints, but those three teams, you could see him somewhere going late 20s, early 30s in the first round of the NFL draft. And if he doesn't go first round, I think he's an easy early second rounder for sure. He's a good player. He's just a leader on defense, so that's going to be a huge hit to this team. Larry Roundtree at the running back position. He's a guy, I swear, obviously I'm not a Missouri fan. If you don't know, I'm a big South Carolina Gamecocks fan. But every single time we play Missouri, I feel like Larry Roundtree has been on the team for 8 years now. I feel like this guy has had like 27 senior seasons. Like, he's been on this team for so long. So Larry Roundtree is finally gone. It felt like so long for me. I don't know, you Missouri fans, let me know, but it felt like he was around forever. He could have been just around for 4 years, and I'm just insane, but that's how it felt. You got Tyree Gillespie and Bledsoe off of your secondary, so those are two big guys that you're losing off of your secondary, and then you have Larry Borum on your offensive line at right tackle who's going. Those are the big guys that Missouri is losing for this season. Now let's get into what their starting lineup should look like this season. And I think that offense is where you look at this and you're like, you know what? This Missouri team isn't half bad. This Missouri team, yes, I don't think they're ready to go out and put a fight up against Georgia or Alabama and like really make a push for the playoff. But you look at this offense and I think that they could have a decent season this year. Obviously, Connor Bazelak, I think he won the SEC Freshman of the Year. He had an amazing season last year. He is going to be the future of Missouri football at the quarterback position. He was a good player. Don't get me wrong. Connor Bazelak, an amazing freshman season and looking to really grow on that. Sophomore season, you have the experience now. Let's take the next step and let's see what you could do with your offense going forward. Tyler Batty is a very versatile running back. And even though you're losing Larry Roundtree, I think Batty is a guy who's going to step in for Missouri and make a huge impact in his first season having the reins of the running back position. I think he's going to be the starting running back for Missouri. He should be. And he's going to really take the reins, and I think that he will be a huge impact to Missouri's offense this season. You look at the receiving core, I think that this is where it really surprises me. You got Dove, you got Knox, and you got Chisholm. Those are three really solid guys. Obviously, you don't have the Devontae Smith, you don't have the Henry Ruggs, you don't have the Jerry Jeudy, you don't have the Jalen Waddle, you don't have like those four guys in your receiving core, but those three guys I look at right there, and those are three reliable guys that I could pass the ball to. So you're looking at the offense as a whole. You're returning a ton of experience on the offensive line too. I think that the offense will be the strength of this team this season. They are looking really good. Obviously, defense, you're losing your big linebacker in Nick Bolton, and then you lose two guys in the secondary. You bring in a new DC this season, Steve Wilkes, coming in. Where was he? He was with Freddie Kitchens and the Cleveland Browns earlier back in 2019, and he was with the Cardinals in 2018. So you're getting a new DC in Missouri. How can they do? How can they fill those holes? I think Jamal Brooks is going to be a huge guy filling in for Nick Bolton this season. He's going to be a guy who's going to be moved around a lot. He's going to be forced to make a lot of plays. How will he be able to impact this Missouri Tigers defense, and how will you be able to stop some of those defenses that you're going up against, or those offenses that you're going up against in the SEC? Because you know the big guys, like they're offenses that are going to be really good this season. Georgia, Florida, maybe. They're not going to be the same team that you saw last year. I think Texas A&M still going to have a really good offense. That's the team you play this season. You're still going to see some really good offenses. How are you going to be able to limit that? And how are you going to be able to deal with that this season? They had a bit of a collapse at the end of the season. You're losing a lot of key guys. I think Missouri's defense will take a step back. They won't be as good as they were last year, but they still will be a solid defense. But in my opinion, this offense, I look at the offense and I'm like, that is the strength of this team, especially the quarterback, the running back, and then your three wide receivers. That's where you're going to find the game-changing plays for this Missouri Tigers team. So let's get into their 2021 football commits. They only got two 4 stars in this class. They got who they get. Travion Ford, defensive end. He's the 15th best in the country. And then you got Dominic Lovett, wide receiver, 54th best wide receiver in the nation. After that, I think you had like 10 or something like that, 3 stars. It wasn't an amazing class. I think they finished like 10th overall or 11th overall in the SEC. 11th overall in the SEC, nothing special there. Definitely could have been better, but at least you're not dead last. My Gamecocks are dead last right now, and it's looking like it's going to be that way for the rest of the season, and I just got to live with it. So be thankful that you have some 4 stars and that you're not dead last, Missouri. Wins, toss-ups, and losses. Let's get into that because it is the most exciting part of the video. I cannot wait to show you guys this. But before I start talking about where each team is and why, look at the numbers at the bottom. That is my win confidence in each of these teams. So for wins, if I put them in the win category, I have 100% to 75% win confidence in Missouri winning that game. Toss-up, I'm somewhere between 26 and 74%. And then losses, 25-0. So please, so many people just look at the graphic and then start going at me in the comments because they're like, oh my gosh, how did you put this team in the toss-ups? That doesn't even make any sense. They should be an automatic win. Or how does this team in the losses category, blah, 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 blah. I'm going to explain each one, so just bear with me. Wins, Central Michigan, Southeastern Missouri State, and then you got North Texas and Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt's going to be the doormat team of the SEC East this year. They're not going to be a solid team. North Texas and Central Michigan, 2 group of 5 teams. They're not really powerhouses in the group of 5 either, and you get both those games at home. So I think Missouri should take those easily. And then you got Southeast Missouri State. They're an FCS school or Division II school. I don't even know. But that should be a win. It should be a win. Those 4 should be easy wins. All over, definitely 90% confidence in Missouri in those games. Kentucky, BC, Tennessee, South Carolina, Florida, and Arkansas, all in the toss-up category. The games, yes, I have Florida in there. The Florida fans lost it on me when I put Missouri in the toss-ups. But honestly, I think that Missouri could hang around with Florida. Like, I would not be shocked if Missouri goes out and beats Florida next season. Yes, I'd have Florida favored in this game, probably 65% win confidence in Florida winning this, so that would be 35 for Missouri. But honestly, I would not be shocked at all if Missouri was able to go out and beat Florida. I think South Carolina, Tennessee, Kentucky, and Arkansas could all easily be 50-50 games. I could see any of those games going either way. Probably you're even going to have Missouri favored over Kentucky, so I'd give Missouri 65 win confidence against Kentucky, and probably, if I'm being completely unbiased, even though I am a South Carolina Gamecocks fan, you're probably looking at 65 against South Carolina too, because you have that game in Columbia, Missouri. Boston College, I honestly don't know. I think Missouri is the better team than Boston College, but Boston College last season stuck around. Like, they stuck around versus Clemson. I think that was DJ Uiagalelei's first game of the season, first start of the season. When Trevor was out, they hung around. BC hung around. So BC could be a good team. You travel to Boston. That's going to be a far trip. So that game is just, it's too cloudy. It's too cloudy for me to look in right now and be like, yeah, I can call that a win, especially when you're traveling to Boston. The weather could be completely different than what you're used to in Missouri. So I don't want to call that an automatic win. And then last, I already talked about Arkansas a bit, but that's going to be a very entertaining game too. You go to Arkansas this time. You had a very good game last season. That, in my opinion, is a true 50-50, and I think the Tennessee one is too. I can't call the Tennessee one yet, if I'm being completely honest. Losses, Texas A&M and Georgia. Georgia's going to be a real good team this year. I feel the same about Texas A&M. If I had to pick one of these that Missouri was more likely to win, I'd pick Texas A&M because I think Georgia's going to be a real good football team. Like, I have Georgia winning the East this year. I have less than 25 win confidence in Missouri winning these games. You go to Georgia, you still got Texas A&M at home, but going to Georgia and coming out with a win, it's really, really tough. So that's why I have Georgia and Texas A&M in there. But that is my video for today, ladies and gentlemen. So thank you so much, Missouri Tiger fans or SEC football fans or just football fans in general. Thank you so much for tuning into this video. For more football content and any sports content, we do everything. That's why our name is Touchdowns to Home Runs, because we cover everything from touchdowns to home runs. Thank you for tuning in, guys. I appreciate it. Like the video down below. Hit the subscribe button. What else? Comment anything about football, and I'd love to respond to you. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say about this. And thanks for watching, and definitely come back next time.